Welcome in, everybody, to the College Football Betting YouTube channel. Before we get to the video you came here for, please do me a very quick favor. Do your boy a solid. Go ahead, subscribe to this YouTube channel. Really does help me grow, really does help this audience grow. And, of course, we are going to be giving you good, unique, fun, informed college football betting content all season long. Also, of course, you can find full episodes of College Football Betting with Aaron Torres wherever you download podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon Music, etc. Now let's get to the video you came here for. I want to get to the best bet, and to me, it's actually surprising because I think that I am higher on this team than just about anybody. It is the Oklahoma Sooners, and I believe that they are the best bet at over-under 9.5 wins, and a lot of the money has actually come in on the under. The under is minus 125, the over is plus 105. But when I look at Oklahoma, I believe that they are not only one of the most undervalued teams in the Big 12, I think they're one of the most undervalued teams in the country. And I think the reason they're undervalued is pretty straightforward. We all know they went through the coaching change. We all know Lincoln Riley is out. We all know that Brent Venables is in. And what I would say is I think kind of the national discourse on Oklahoma, the casuals, to use a quote from my buddy Josh Pate, right? Josh Pate always calls people that aren't diehards the casuals. And I think that the thought from the casuals is, well, Oklahoma's going to regress, and here's why. Their offense won't be as good without Lincoln Riley, and their defense might be a little bit better under Brent Venables, but they'll still stink because they're Oklahoma. I don't buy into either of those narratives. First of all, from the offensive perspective, I can legitimately say I am as excited to watch this offense as anyone in college football, including that former Oklahoma head coach who's now at least in the Pac-12 for a year or two. I give credit to Brent Venables, right? He came in, he knew his strength was on the defensive side of the football. Did you see who he hired as the offensive coordinator? I think if you're listening to a show like this, you probably know. But Jeff Lebby, who was the offensive coordinator at Ole Miss last year, has coached under Art Briles, knows the Big 12, has coached under Josh Heupel, is now coming in as the offensive coordinator. And so to me, this is Brent Venables saying, look, I got the defense, you take care of the offense. No different than when a Ryan Day really hands over the defense to his defensive coordinator, or Sean McVay in the NFL, or Kyle Shanahan in the NFL, giving complete control of that side of the football. That's what I think we're going to see at Oklahoma. So Brent Venables hands over the keys to Jeff Lebby, and I really like what Jeff Lebby did in the portal, bringing in Dillon Gabriel. I know there was a lot of back and forth because Oklahoma really, they lost Caleb Williams, but technically they sort of lost two transfer quarterbacks with Spencer Rattler leaving as well. But Caleb Williams leaves, and I don't think we acknowledged, like Dillon Gabriel's a really good college quarterback. Now, last year he was at UCF, Gus Malzahn, weird system, not really suited to his strengths. He gets hurt early in the year. He's kind of forgotten about. But 2 years ago, when he played under Josh Heupel in essentially the same system he's going to be running at Oklahoma, Dillon Gabriel threw for 32 touchdowns and 4 interceptions for the UCF Golden Knights, again, under Josh Heupel, at Central Florida. And you look back to that season, I thought he was one of the best quarterbacks in college football. It's just he played for UCF. It was a weird COVID year, and not a lot of people were paying attention, but UCF, to their credit, finished 9-4 and was one of the best passing offenses in college football. Well, now he's coming to Oklahoma, and with no disrespect intended to UCF, I think you can argue he's got the best weapons that he's ever had as a college quarterback. Eric Gray is back at running back for Oklahoma. They obviously lost Kennedy Brooks. But then on top of that, the wide receiver position, Marvin Mims, former 5-star, stuck around to play in this offense, to play under Jeff Lebby, to play under Brent Venables as the head coach. Beyond that, also, Theo Wease, he was hurt last year, but 2 years ago, 5-star recruit who comes in, has an awesome freshman year, 37 catches during the COVID year where they only played 11 games. And so you look at this offense, I don't want to say they're not going to miss a beat at all, but first of all, they weren't great last year under Lincoln Riley. But then two, I just don't think we're giving enough credit to Jeff Lebby and to Dillon Gabriel and what his upside as a quarterback is. Defensively, yeah, we all know that they need work. But to Brent Venables' credit, I mean, he is one of the best defensive minds in all of college football. Go back to even Clemson last year. Look at all the injuries they had, and I know nobody feels bad for a team with as many 5-stars and a team that's had has had as much success as Clemson had. But Brent Venables' defense wasn't the problem. It was that the offense couldn't move the ball with DJ Uiagalelei. And so I look at Oklahoma and I sit there and say, Brent Venables basically kept the Clemson program together with duct tape on defense last year, dealing with all those injuries. Now he comes in, and no, it's not going to be a top 5 defense nationally. It's not going to be a top 3 defense. It's not going to be Georgia. It's not going to be Wisconsin. But they're going to play better defense overall. So I don't think the offense is going to take as much of a drop. I don't think the defense is going to be as bad as people think. And let me say something else. Something really stood out to me. It was funny. I host on Fox Sports Radio. For people who do not know, I host a Saturday show. We actually come on after the big college football games on Saturday. And, somebody I work with is an Oklahoma fan. And we were talking about this last week I think when Lincoln Riley left, I was on air during that famous Lincoln Riley, I am not going to LSU press conference. Obviously, a day later, he leaves for USC. But I think there was kind of a thought like, this whole program is going to fall apart. He is going to steal every single person from Oklahoma and bring them to USC. Well, outside of Caleb Williams, outside of Mario Williams, a wide receiver, and outside of one cornerback, Latrell McCutcheon, it's not as though there was this mass exodus. And so I think what I see is a group of guys that believes in Brent Venables. What I see is a group of guys that believes in this new coaching staff. And you can criticize Lincoln Riley, but he certainly didn't leave the cupboard bare. Last 4 seasons, 2019, top 10 recruiting class. A lot of those guys are still there. 2021, a top 10 recruiting class. Obviously, the vast majority of those guys are still there. He laid the foundation for the 2022 class. Now, credit Brent Venables for closing, but that is a top 10 class. And so this is probably the most talented roster in the Big 12. Now, we'll get to Texas in a minute. They have some interesting pieces as well. But probably the most talented roster, a group that obviously believes in Brent Venables and his staff. And so I just look at this situation. I don't get why people are so down on Oklahoma. So I like Oklahoma to surpass 9.5 wins. Credit to DraftKings, actually. They have Oklahoma as the favorite in this conference, even though the media picked Baylor. Oklahoma, to me, is the best bet in the Big 12.